Now we're going to go into item Weishaupt, Mayor Rothschild, and Jacob Frank, which we just spoke about, and them coming together and forming the Peruvian Illuminati, which was found in the year 1776, May 1776. What year was the United States founded? Month, July 1776. Yeah, this is interesting. But sit back and enjoy. You might get to learn a thing or two about the divided states and their connections and beginnings with Israel.
Sabbatai Zevi declared himself to be the Jewish Messiah in the year 1666. This false Messiah led the largest Messiah movement in Jewish history and attracted more than half the population of European Jews. How did he do it? By promising to return the Jews to their ancestral homeland in Palestine. Sabbatai Zevi made everything that was holy unholy. He rejected the rules of the Jewish holy books and every standard of Jewish decency. There would be no more guilt or sin or right or wrong. No more sexual taboos, no more 10 Commandments, no more fasting. Instead, there would be feasting. Sabbatai Zevi's immoral leadership finally fell from grace when the Sultan of Turkey threatened him with torture unless he converted to Islam. Sabbatai converted to Islam, but he brought his infectious evil theology with him. 1 century later, Jacob Frank proclaimed himself to be the reincarnation of Sabbatai Zevi and the living Messiah for all Jews. Not even Sabbatai Zevi was as evil as Jacob Frank and his disciples. Jacob Frank rejected traditional Judaism. He reversed the truth and told his followers, since we can't all be saints, let's all be sinners. The best way to imitate God, said Frank, is to cross every boundary, transgress every taboo, and mix, as God did, the sacred with the profane. Orgies, incest, rape, and sexual intercourse with children, including sodomy on young boys, were no longer sinful. In 1773, Jacob Frank traveled to Frankfurt, Germany, the birthplace of the Illuminati. That's where he formed an unholy alliance with Adam Weishaupt and Mayor Amschel Rothschild's banking dynasty. The ambition of the Rothschild dynasty was to win control of the world's gold, central banks, and wealth. The Rothschilds sent John Jacob Astor, Jacob Schiff, and Paul Warburg to America, where they influenced the privatization of the Federal Reserve banking system and the dismantling of the American Constitution. The goal of Weishaupt and the Jesuits was to take control of the Vatican and its hierarchy of Catholic clergy. Weishaupt formed the Order of the Illuminati and infiltrated the Freemasonic lodges with his doctrine until every Masonic lodge in every nation accepted it. The Frankist goal was the destruction and replacement of Jewish ethics with a satanic religion based on the exact opposite of Jewish teachings. When this unholy alliance of conscienceless men was seeded, a cancerous war against humanity erupted. With Rothschild financing, Jacob Frank became fabulously wealthy and was put in charge of spreading a Luciferian theology that would be the hidden hand behind future wars and revolutions. Jacob Frank's followers were called Sabbatian Frankists. They practiced witchcraft and occult rituals, including animal and human sacrifices. Lucifer, they declared, was the true God. The Sabbatian Frankists expanded their movement by masquerading as converts to other religions. They converted to Catholicism and to Islam, where they embedded themselves and spread their Luciferian infection as closeted crypto-Jews. The Frankists traded their wives and daughters with members and with powerful non-members who they needed to seduce into their cult. Jewish professor Gershon Scholem called Jacob Frank one of the most frightening men in Jewish history. By 1776, Orthodox Jewish rabbis and leaders rejected Jacob Frank and the pagan invasion of evil that took hold in 18th century Europe. They declared Jacob Frank and his Luciferian followers to be heretics. Jewish author and historian Dr. Henry Makow has thoroughly researched the Sabbatean Frankist movement.
The Sabbatean Frankists were out-and-out Satanists. They believe that they have to defy any kind of natural morality, defy any kind of natural law, defy God, and they actually indulge in every kind of depravity as a form of worship, because they worship Satan. And they promoted promiscuity, and that's where our promiscuity today comes from. It's 200 or 300 years old. There's nothing new or avant-garde about it. They promoted incest, they promoted pedophilia, and every kind of sexual depravity.
America's Zionist-owned media falsely reported that Iran's President Ahmadinejad threatened to wipe Israel off the map. This was a mistranslation. What the president of Iran really said is that Israel is occupying Palestine and has no legitimacy on the world map. Traditional Torah Jews and rabbis agree with him. There is speculation that the revolutionary document called the Protocols of Zion is a secret Sabbatean Frankist document. This document embodies 24 protocols which map out a detailed Zionist plan for global control. The protocols, written in the late 1700s, describe in precise detail the world domination plan that is unfolding today. Rabbi Marvin Antelman charges that the world today is ruled by a Sabbatean Frankist satanic cult that has conspired with the Illuminati to destroy all religions and fuse all nations into one.
I have joining me today Dr. and Rabbi Marvin Antelman. Welcome to the show, Rabbi.
Thank you very much for having me here. First of all, let me say this. There are a lot of conspiracy theories out there. I'm not interested in theories. I'm interested in facts. So the scholarship over the years that I've utilized are sources that are impeccable. A man by the name of Shabbatai Tzvi, who was born in 1626 and died in 1676, came along and said, I am the Messiah. And he had a tremendous following. When it was realized that his following was so great, there would be problems, the Sultan gave Shabbatai a choice. Either you die or convert to Islam. So he converted. Now, there were about 1 million followers prior to the conversion. When the conversion happened, then there was disillusionment among the Jews. But there were some diehard people who set up different cults of Shabbatai Tzvi. And the worst one of them was called the Domeh, which was a secret organization. And the Domeh was based in Turkey and in Salonika. And the Domeh gave rise to these terrible orgies that went on, which became part of the immorality theology of Shabbatai Tzvi, corrupted later on. He apostatized himself 10 years before his death. So when he died in 1676, he had these cults doing all kinds of evil.
And the reason that these followers of Shabbatai Tzvi were doing evil was because what?
Here's the thing. The Talmud says that the Messiah would come when everybody's good or everybody's bad. There is such a saying in the Talmud. So the Sabbatians said like this: it's impossible for everybody to be good. It's easy to be bad. So they turned around the Torah and they said, if you do an evil deed, then you will use up the energy of the universe, and it'll collapse, and you'll force the Messiah to come because you will have used up all the evil in the world. So whenever they engage in an orgy, they would make a bracha, and every day they would figure out a way to do as many sins as possible. Like if you eat chaylev, you're chayev karet. In other words, if you eat fat, according to the Torah, you're to be excommunicated from your people. So they would eat fat that was prohibited, non-kosher fat, from a kosher animal, which is chaylev, which is in that category, like eating blood from a kosher animal.
So they would dafka do the opposite.
They do the opposite
in order to hasten the
coming of the Messiah. After Shabtai Tzvi died, one of the most powerful Sabbatian cults, as they were called, was a transformation of the Domeh, the most extreme cult, to Europe through an insidious person by the name of Jacob Frank. He died in 1791. Now the Frankists started to spread and take over entire communities and make them satanic. And you can actually trace a line historically, which I do in my book, to the CFR from Shabtai Tzvi, and another organization called the Illuminati, which was founded in 1776 by Adam Weishaupt. And they were involved also in the French Revolution, which is also well documented.
So what you're saying is that there really does exist a new world order, that it's not a conspiracy theory, it's a conspiracy.
Right, and Professor Katz wrote a book called The Jews and Freemasonry, which gives a history of the interface between Jews and some of the cults that derived out of Shabtai Tzvi. But the next big cult that came from Shabtai Tzvi after the Domeh organization, which was in Turkey, the next big cult were the Frankists, as I mentioned with Jacob Frank. So Jacob Frank, the Vad Arba Ratzah, the Council of Four Lands, wanted to deal with Frank, and they decided to have a big excommunication on the 20th of Sivan 250 years ago. And there, they made the following rulings. They said everybody that is a Frankist is to be excommunicated.
From the Jewish people?
From the Jewish people, bastards to the 10th generation, is what it said. And they prohibited people, because the Frankists were into Kabbalah, they prohibited the study of Kabbalah until you were 30 or 40 years old and you had a belly full, as they said, full of Talmud. Only then could you study the Kabbalah.
Right.
And they said they're women or whores, and they're hereby excommunicated from our people to the 10th generation.
This is what the Council of Four Lands labeled the Frankists, right, because they so deviated from Judaism and all that Judaism holds to be true and righteous. These people went off and made basically their own deformed religion, and so the Jews wanted nothing to do with them. They kicked them out.
That is correct.
Okay. Are there non-Jews that joined this Sabbatian cult?
No, non-Jews did not join the Sabbatian cult, but the non-Jews did join the Illuminati.
The Frankist movement was a front organization for Illuminists, believing that one achieves purity through sin. Thus, we find Frankists practicing sex orgies. While such ideas were foreign to Orthodox Jews, they were not strange or alien to the predominantly Gentile Illuminist movement. As a matter of fact, in his writings, the Illuminist Adam Weishaupt called for the abolition of all ordered forms of religion, and that syncs up perfectly with what the Frankists were trying to achieve. The story of the Frankists begins really not with the founder of the movement, Jacob Frank, but with Sabbatai Zevi or Zivi, a claimed Messiah and Kabbalist.
And he was a Turkish fellow, is that right?
That's correct. Sabbatai Zivi founded the Donmi sect, a group which became rather large in the Ottoman Empire. And Sabbatai does not appear to have been insane. He knew what he was doing when he made this declaration of being
Messiah. And this
Messiah.
was in the 1600s, was it?
Yes, that's correct. The rationale put forward was that because Sabbatai was the Messiah, he had the authority to abolish the religious observances of traditional Judaism. And he began moving in this direction by declaring the 10th of Tevet no longer a day of fasting, but a day of feasting. Sabbatai claimed that he had been promised a consort in a dream. and that consort was to be an unchaste woman. And there was a woman that was living in Livorno named Sarah that became his choice pick. She was a prostitute who claimed that she was to become the bride of the Messiah. So she was brought to Cairo and married to Sabbatai and fell into the role quite nicely and helped to confirm his messiahship, at least in the eyes of his followers. This group taught Jacob Frank. We see that there is these heretical beliefs with Jacob Frank from his earliest days, that he was probably brought up in it from childhood on. So Jacob Frank began holding secret meetings in 1755 where he preached ideas that were antithetical to the Orthodox Judaism. One gathering in a place called Landskron was so egregious, and just so much outrageous nonsense went on there, that it drew the attention of the authorities in the area. It drew the attention of the rabbis, and as a result, a rabbinical court was held in Satanov, a village where many of Frank's followers confessed to all sorts of outrageous sexual immorality. Frank had to leave Podolia in, I believe it was 1756, because of the mixing of sex orgies with religion. And Jacob Frank would declare himself to be a direct successor to Sabbatai Zevi. And he would tell his followers to convert to Christianity as a kind of a phase, a transitional kind of phase, to the future religion, which was supposed to be a Messianic religion, with, of course, Jacob Frank sitting at the forefront of it.
Wait, now there was a huge amount of occultism and Kabbalism, and you said Masonicism within Frankist cult.
That's correct.
Today, royals, politicians, banksters, and businessmen form the inner circle of the Sabbatean Frankist elite. They live secret, two-faced lives, sometimes posing as religious Jews or Christians or Islamists. Modern Zionism is rooted in the unholy alliance of Frank, Weishaupt, and Rothschild. It has infiltrated world religions, taken over Freemasonry, engineered wars and revolutions, and turned nations and citizens into their debt slaves worldwide. Unfortunately, Muslims, Christians, and Jews do not recognize their common enemy because that enemy is invisible. It hides within their own religions. The enemy also hides within the activist community. It finances big-budget documentaries and movements. The end game is to sell a divisive, anti-capitalist, atheistic message and deliver trusting followers right into the lap of a communist New World Order.
New World Order, Mr. Rothschild?
What?
New World Order? Depopulation?
Oh, listen, who are you...
Genocide?
Who are you televising for?
We just want to let you know the New World Order has no legitimacy, and that we as a people are not afraid, and we are waking up to the robber barons and the big banksters who are looting this economy with the Federal Reserve.
Well...
What do you, I mean, the Rothschilds family did start the federal, they divided Europe first, took over Europe, the Napoleon.
Don't exaggerate.
And interestingly, this cult, its Bible is the Kabbalah, the esoteric, mystical work of the Jewish belief system.
Bernhard's famous co-star, Roseanne Barr, as well as Mick Jagger, Ashton Kutcher, Demi Moore, Ariana Grande, and Madonna all dabbled in Kabbalah study. Celebrities across Hollywood were spotted wearing the popular red string amulet. Madonna's countless trips to Israel only further cemented Kabbalah's place in the mainstream. In 2003, she even shelled out $5 million to help open a Kabbalah center in London. Yet, Kabbalah today is still divisive. To many, the Bergs were inspirational people.
The aging pop star had recently done a photo shoot in which she portrayed herself as Jesus in a display that mocked Jesus' Last Supper, where he instituted the communion service that millions upon millions of Christians have done for over 2,000 years. And she even used such displays to normalize the very performances that have become commonplace at the Grammys. She also prophetically spoke of how she would use her homoerotic videos to normalize homosexual behavior to Middle America, where it was not yet accepted.
Hey guys, if you want to watch more clips, click here.
And if you want to watch the full podcast, click right here.